Drew was having an absolute nightmare for the first few minutes. I mean, I think this is about a minute into the game. And then again down the right-hand side, Ashley Cole was getting in for fun. And it's just that final delivery, you know, that hasn't quite been there. But, you know, and then Santos joins in on his side. You know, Sturridge bursting through, and it's a poor ball in the end. Otherwise, Torres should be tapping that ball in. But, you know, that was going to be the way the game panned out. You know, the full-back areas have been unbelievable.
Full-back areas, and now we take a little look at the central defensive positions as we get to the first goal.
No, absolutely. I mean, simple, basic defending right throughout the game from both sides. Yeah. But the first goal in particular, I mean, Frank Lampard, we saw arrive as the ball arrived in the box. Long ball out to Mata, and we see Lampard as he arrives, free header in the middle of the goal, and you think, well, how on earth has that happened? Now, we see Frank and we see Mertesacker here in the middle of the pitch. As they recover towards goal, Mertesacker's got to deal with Frank. Now, he's had a look, but for some reason, Mertesacker gets drawn to the ball instead of keeping an eye on Frank, and Frank's left with the space just in behind to go in there. And as we see it develop, remarkable, really. Remarkable piece of defending, Graham.
For a man who has 70-odd caps for his country.
I think that's the most shocking thing about it, John, is the fact that he's such an experienced campaigner making basic defensive errors. See, quite incredible, it really is.
A couple of stats on that one. Frank Lampard doesn't often score against this opposition. He'd only scored 1 in 28 versus Arsenal, and that last one came 18 games ago. Someone who does score and is breaking records for fun, of course, is Van Persie. Let's take a little look at this. Once again, the Gervinho-Van Persie show.
Definitely, and great combination from the two of them. And as we look here, again, I spoke earlier, Chelsea, for some reason, trying to keep a very high line. And this time they get exploited. Lovely ball from Aaron Ramsey. And great composure from Gervinho. But again, as we track Gervinho on this run of his from deep, you'll see he just drifts off the play. Ramsey comes through. Now, as we pause it, now we see this Chelsea high line, and nobody reacts to him. If you see Ivanovic and Basinga above him, no response at all as he runs through. As I said, lovely composure, and Van Persie can't miss, but. Again, Graham, poor defending.
This is the perfect angle. If you watch Ivanovic at the bottom of your screen, I mean, that's a basic ball. I mean, Ramsey hasn't done anything incredible there. It's just a terrible piece of lazy defending from Ivanovic.
Amazing stuff. A 13th away goal in 2011. That just doesn't happen. Van Persie's records are amazing. The first time an Arsenal player's got to this many goals at this stage of the season since Thierry Henry in 2004-05. Right. On to John Terry, who, by the way, has still scored more goals against Arsenal than Frank Lampard has, because he's notched his 3rd league goal of the season, his 3rd against Arsenal, and that as easy as you like.
Yeah, well, again, unfortunately, it's Mertesacker who's the marker, but I can't understand Mikel Arteta is on neither page. He drifts off the near post, and he stands behind the goalkeeper, so he's covering nothing. You'd surely have a defender.
Yeah, I mean, you would. You know, you see Premier League sides, they always put somebody on the post. They're far better off in forward positions, John, trust me. So, you know, Arsenal came out very well, started the second half incredibly well, and just Son gets the ball out, gets the switch of play here. Basinga goes missing. Take nothing away from Santos. He hits the target. Cech not covering himself in glory either. But it's Basinga. He's left his fullback position to tuck into a midfield area. He didn't really have to go and do that, and Santos is left with acres of ground, and he finishes with aplomb.
That's incredible. Santos, who a couple of the pundits were suggesting that perhaps he might be pulled off at half-time given his first half showing, shows how much we know. On we go. Theo Walcott now with one of the most remarkable goals, given what happens in the middle of this little passage, Gareth.
Well, it's a comedy fall there, and then somehow everybody's so stunned by it, they just stand and let him get up, and the bit of footwork to get in between. Just have a look here. Boom. Ridiculous fall. But great feat between Terry and Ivanovic, and then... As we, you know, not the only time in the afternoon Petr Cech gets done at his near post, but it's the power on it, and I think you'll see it dip just as just before it gets to.
He's happy away from home as well, Gareth. I think his last 6 goals have all come away from the Emirates. Theo Walcott there, so a smile on his face as that one goes in, and then the Van Persie show, almost inevitably, Mata made it 3-3, of course, and you thought, right, can Arsenal cling on for this one? More than just clinging on. Van Persie wins it and then some.
Absolutely. It was just going to be a case of which side could finish their chances, because, you know, the game was end-to-end. I mean, this is craziness from Malouda. I mean, it's just a sloppy back pass. And it was inevitable. You just knew it was that man, Van Persie, in a rich vein of form. And he was never going to miss one-on-one there. But, I mean, you know, you can point the finger at John Terry and say he was on his heels and should have done better, but Malouda, that eventuality doesn't happen if Malouda doesn't play the ball.
Let me just
back
throw
to him.
some more Van Persie numbers at you. He's become the second player in the history of the Premier League to score a hat-trick at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. The first was actually Dion Dublin back in '97. And his away record now, he is now the all-time leading away goal scorer for a calendar year. He's got up to 15. The previous record was 14. Unbelievable. He's going to go and bust that record. Let's have a look at the last goal. Let's have a look at Van Persie's hat-trick goal. Gareth, over to you.
Well, Chelsea were pushing forward, and again, you could see an overload on the counter-attack. It's the power. Again, I think Petr slightly too far across, no question about that. But I mean, as soon as anything drops on that left side for Van Persie, you know there's a danger it ends up in the back of your net, and devastating on the counter, devastating.
But he is the man of the match, arguably of the season. Unfortunately, he's in our interview position right now. Let's hear from him talking to Paul Belveston.